Greetings. Here's a question for you. Did you hear about the Psak Din?
Psak Din.
For those who don't know, a Psak Din is a type of legal ruling or judgment within Rabbinic Judaism. And on your screen is footage from a particularly famous, or some might say infamous, Psak Din from the late 90s, from almost a quarter century ago. And I'll share a link to the full video in the video description, but here I'd like to jump straight to the conclusion of this legal ruling.
ועל כן מחויבים אנו לשמוע לכל אשר יאמר לנו מגדר חיוב לשמוע לדברי נביא ובכלל זה שהוא מלך המשיח. אנו קוראים לכל אחד ואחת מישראל, אנסים נשים וטף, לקבל עליו את מלכות הרבי שליטה, מלך המשיח, ויתגלה אלינו מיד ממש. יחי אדוננו מורנו ורבנו, מלך המשיח לעולם ועד.
In case you didn't catch it, that Psak Din, that ruling, declared it obligatory to recognize Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the 7th Lubavitcher Rebbe, to be the long-awaited Messiah of Israel. And here's the text of that Psak Din. Note that it received more than a few signatures from various rabbis. So with all that in mind, here are a few questions worth pondering. What do you think the scope and reach of that Psak Din might have been, both inside and outside of the Jewish spectrum? Right? What percentage of Jews do you think felt obliged to defer to it? How many non-Jews do you think accepted it as authoritative? And now that you've heard the judgment, do you personally feel like you might have to submit to its authority? Or might you be the sort of person who doesn't consider a matter closed simply because there's a Psak Din offering an opinion on it? With that in mind, here's another Psak Din. And if I'm not mistaken, it dates to the beginning of this year, 2022. It's a ruling from the Brit Obadyah, or the Obadyah Alliance, and it concludes that the Igbo people are Israelites. Now, of course, there are questions of definitions and stuff like that, but I just wanted to share this Psak Din because a gentleman on Facebook recently recommended this video, which relates to that Psak Din. It's a video from the We Woke Now channel, and it's titled Igbo Elder Remy Ilona addresses Berean TV's threat of going to rabbis because of Igbo confirmation. While the video purports to offer a response to Berean, it doesn't provide a clip of the statement that it's attempting to respond to, nor does it link to a video which might contain the relevant statement. It simply has a response from Remy Ilona, but it's not even clear if Mr. Ilona himself had heard the statement he was responding to. I mean, honestly, one gets the impression that perhaps Mr. Ilona might have merely been going off of something he was told by our friend over at We Woke Now, or perhaps the latter's familial counterpart over at the Boom Church channel. Whatever the case, the claim is that Berean threatened to discuss the Psak Din about the Igbos with other Jews. And with that in mind, I'd now like to play for you a portion of Remy Ilona's reply. And by the way, fair use.
Hey, brother. The guy you mentioned that is at Berean TV, I will tell you what I think and you may share with him. Tell him that the most important people he should reach out to are the Igbo people represented by Omena and the Defenders and Obadyah Alliance. Any other group outside these two groups are not important.
I must confess, I found that statement curious. If the Psak Din is being put forth as definitive, it makes sense for those who are interested in the topic to explore what it might mean within the wider Jewish spectrum. And for that reason, it would make sense if Berean wanted to talk with other Jews to get a better sense of the scope and impact of the ruling. Attempts to dissuade folks from discussing the matter with others seems to itself raise more questions, right? Recall the first Psak Din that we considered, the one which concluded that the 7th Lubavitcher Rebbe must be accepted as the Messiah. Imagine if you wanted to see how other Jews might have perceived that Psak Din. And imagine if you were told that the only people you should be talking to are those who penned the Psak Din and those who agree with it. Imagine being told that no other person's understanding of that Psak Din was important. Might you be tempted to interpret that as an unfortunate attempt to preemptively prevent you from coming into contact with other views? Ultimately, I would say that what is true about the Psak Din on the Rebbe being the Messiah is true of the Psak Din about the Igbos being Israelites. In neither case should you feel like it's wrong to explore a wider range of views on either topic, including the views of Jews who might not agree with either conclusion. Moreover, in both cases, there is a question of scope and authority. If you personally consider one of the signatories to the Psak Din about the Rebbe to be a Psaq, to a legal authority whom you defer to, then, it's your right to accept the conclusion. And likewise, if you personally consider one of the signatories to the Psak Din about the Igbos to be a legal authority for you whom you defer to, again, it is your right to accept the conclusion. But in either case, I would hope that it's clear that there are lots of other people for whom the declaration, this Psak Din said so, does not settle the question. And with that in mind, I'd like to circle back to some questions that I asked at the beginning of this video, right? What is the scope and authority of that Psak Din on the Igbos, right? Who's obligated to defer to its conclusion? Now, one might respond that it has as much scope and authority as the Psak Din about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. If so, that might raise a follow-up question. What then was the scope and authority of the Psak Din about the Rebbe? Do you personally feel obligated to defer to it? How many Jews do you think might have deferred to its conclusion? And how many non-Jews do you think feel compelled to do so? And can we have a consistent standard for assessing either of these judgments, as well as other judgments coming from the diverse rabbinic spectrum, right? Food for thought. And on that note, I'll close this short video here. I look forward to any comments, questions, or even criticisms others may wish to offer. Again, as I always tell people, I don't censor anyone here, so feel free to share your thoughts, whether positive or negative. And as always, God bless.